We chose our golden son over our other son's marriage. Now he's gone, the marriage is dead, and we're barred from our granddaughter's life forever. I am writing this from my kitchen table. The one where we used to have Sunday dinners. All of us. Plates passing. Bread basket. My husband at the head. Me at the other end. 2 sons in the middle. That table seats 6. There are 2 of us now. I want to tell you what we did. Not what happened to us. What we did. Because those are different things, and I spent 3 years pretending they were the same, and they are not. We had 2 sons. Derek was the older one. Quiet. Steady. The kind of man who fixed things without being asked. Changed your oil before you noticed it needed changing. Showed up early. Left late. Married a woman named Caitlin who made him laugh in a way I hadn't seen since he was 8 years old. They had a daughter named Rosie. She was 4 when everything fell apart. She turned 7 last month. We were not invited. Our younger son is named Patrick. Patrick was the one people noticed when he walked into a room. Loud. Charming. The kind of smile that made you forget he was 2 hours late. He was always 2 hours late. Always had a reason. Always made the reason sound like it wasn't his fault. We always believed him. That's on us. I know that now. Patrick met Derek's wife Caitlin at a family barbecue in the summer 3 years ago. I remember the afternoon. I remember thinking they were talking a long time near the cooler. I remember thinking it was nothing. It was not nothing. I don't know exactly when it started. I've asked myself that question every day for 3 years and I don't have an answer. What I know is that by October of that year, Derek found out. He found messages. He found call logs. He found things no man should have to find on his wife's phone about his own brother. He called us that night. My husband answered. I watched his face change. He said very little. He hung up and sat down at this same kitchen table and told me what Derek had found. My first thought was about Patrick. Not Derek. Patrick. I want you to hold that. Because that is the thing I cannot forgive myself for. My older son called us from the floor of his bedroom, destroyed, and my first instinct was to protect the younger one. We called Patrick that night. He didn't deny it. He said it was complicated. He said Caitlin had been unhappy for a long time. He said Derek was difficult to live with. He said a lot of things that I now understand were Patrick repositioning himself before the story could be told without him. We listened. We should not have listened. We should have said, this is not about Caitlin's happiness. This is about what you did to your brother. We did not say that. Derek came over the next morning. He sat in the chair Patrick always sat in because Patrick wasn't there. He was calm in a way that scared me. Men are most dangerous when they're that calm. He laid out what he found. Dates. Messages. A timeline that went back 6 months. He didn't cry. He didn't raise his voice. He just put the information on the table and looked at us and waited. My husband said, Son, these things are complicated. Derek looked at him for a long time. Then he stood up, put on his jacket, and left. He didn't slam the door. That's the part that stays with me. He just closed it. Quiet. Like he'd already decided something and the door was the last step. We didn't know what he decided. Not yet. We spent the next 2 weeks talking to Patrick every day. How is he doing? Is he eating? Is he sleeping? What does he need? We called Derek twice. He answered once. Said he needed space. We said okay. We gave him space. What we actually gave him was the message that space was available and we were filling it with his brother. Caitlin moved out of their house in November. Derek stayed. Rosie stayed with him 4 days a week. He took her to school. Packed her lunch. Made her dinner. Did the bath and bedtime routine alone 4 nights a week while working full-time and processing the fact that his wife and his brother had been together for 6 months. We didn't offer to help. We offered Patrick our guest room. He stayed for 6 weeks. We cooked for him. My husband drove him to appointments. We told him it would be okay. We told him these things happen. We told him, and I am ashamed to type this, we told him that Caitlin wasn't right for Derek anyway. We said that. Out loud. In our kitchen. About our daughter-in-law. While our older son was alone in his house putting his 4-year-old daughter to bed by himself. Patrick cried a lot during those 6 weeks. We interpreted the crying as remorse. It was not remorse. We know that now. Patrick cried because things were inconvenient for Patrick. He cried because Caitlin wasn't leaving Derek as cleanly as he'd hoped. He cried because the story wasn't going the way he'd planned it. He was never sorry. The divorce proceedings started in January. Derek hired a lawyer within 2 weeks of Caitlin moving out. Fast. Decisive. My husband said, "He's moving too fast, he should take time to think." I agreed. Derek did not want our opinion. He did not ask for it. We gave it anyway. My husband called him and said, "Son, you need to slow down, give this time, don't make decisions you'll regret." Derek said, "I have one question for you. When I called you in October, who did you call first, me or Patrick?" My husband didn't answer. Derek said, "That's what I thought. Don't call me again unless you're ready to answer that question." He hung up. My husband told me Derek was being unreasonable. I agreed with my husband. I want you to understand that I agreed with my husband every single time, and every single time I was wrong, and I kept doing it anyway. The divorce was finalized in March. Derek got primary custody of Rosie. Caitlin got every other weekend and 2 evenings a week. The court looked at who had been the consistent parent and made its decision accordingly. We didn't attend any of the hearings. We didn't offer Derek any support during the process. We were focused on Patrick, who was by then dating someone new and seemed to be recovering well. Patrick recovered very well. That should have told us something. In April, Patrick told us he and Caitlin were officially together. He said it like he was announcing a promotion. Proud. Expectant. Waiting for us to be happy for him. My husband shook his hand. "I want to stop and make sure you understand what I just wrote." My husband shook the hand of the son who slept with his other son's wife. In celebration. In our kitchen. We took them to dinner the following week. Patrick and Caitlin. At the restaurant where Derek and Caitlin had their rehearsal dinner 6 years earlier. We didn't think about that. Or maybe we did and decided not to think about it. Derek found out about the dinner. I don't know how. He found out. He sent my husband a text. 7 words. "Don't contact me or Rosie again." My husband showed me the text. We both agreed Derek was being extreme. He was not being extreme. He was being exact. We didn't understand the difference. May came. Mother's Day. I sent Derek a card. Handwritten. Told him I loved him. Told him I missed him. Told him I hoped we could talk soon. He sent it back unopened. Return to sender written in his handwriting across the front. I stood at the mailbox holding that envelope for a long time. I told Patrick about it. Patrick said Derek always held grudges. He said it like it was a character flaw. Like the problem was Derek's capacity for memory and not what we had collectively done to deserve being remembered this way. I believed Patrick. June came. Rosie's birthday. We sent a gift. A stuffed rabbit she'd been asking for. We knew because we'd overheard her mention it at Easter, the last time we'd seen her. The package was delivered. We checked the tracking. Delivered. Signed for. No acknowledgement. My husband called Derek. Derek did not answer. My husband left a voicemail. Said we just wanted to wish Rosie a happy birthday. Said we missed her. Said we hoped she liked the rabbit. Derek called back 3 hours later. He did not say hello. He said, "She doesn't know who sent it. I put it in her room without a card. She's 4. She doesn't need to know who sent things. She just needs things to be stable. Stop sending things." My husband started to say something. Derek said, "I'm going to say this once. You went to dinner with them. You shook his hand. You sent my ex-wife a birthday card last month. You are not safe people for my daughter to be around right now. Maybe ever. I haven't decided. But right now, no." My husband said, "Derek, we're your parents." Derek said, "I know who you are. That's why I'm telling you directly instead of just letting the lawyer handle it. Goodbye, Dad." He hung up. My husband sat at this table for a long time after that call. He didn't say anything. I made tea. Neither of us drank it. We still thought we'd done nothing wrong. I need you to understand that. We sat in this kitchen in June of that year and we genuinely believed that Derek was the one being unreasonable. We believed we were victims of our son's anger. We believed that if he just calmed down, he would see that we loved him and that would be enough. Love is not enough when you choose against someone. We didn't know that yet. Summer passed. Fall came. Patrick and Caitlin moved in together. We helped them move. We rented the truck. My husband carried boxes. I unpacked the kitchen. Caitlin's kitchen. The same Caitlin who had been Derek's wife 8 months earlier. We set up her spice rack. I'm telling you this so you understand how thoroughly we had separated what we were doing from what it meant. We had split Patrick and Caitlin from Derek, and what we lost so completely that I could stand in that kitchen arranging cumin and paprika and feel nothing but the ordinary satisfaction of helping family. Derek was alone 6 miles away putting Rosie to bed. We were arranging spices. October came. 1 year since Derek first called us. My husband suggested we reach out. Try again. He drafted a letter. 2 pages. Told Derek we loved him. Told him we missed him and Rosie. Told him we understood he was hurting but we were hurting too, and didn't family matter enough to try? He mailed it. Derek's response came 8 days later. It was not a letter. It was a legal document. A formal notice from Derek's attorney stating that Derek was establishing no contact parameters with both of us and that any future attempts to contact him, his residence, his workplace, or his daughter would be documented and addressed legally if necessary. The document was 3 pages. It outlined every contact attempt we'd made since June. Every card. Every call. Every package. Every voicemail. Every drive-by. Yes, my husband had driven past Derek's house twice, just to see if lights were on, and Derek's lawyer had documented it. 14 months. He'd been building a file? My husband read the document and said, he hired a lawyer just to hurt us. I read the document and for the first time felt something shift inside my chest. Something that had been sealed since October of the year before. Something I hadn't let myself feel because feeling it meant admitting what we'd done. My husband said, this is excessive. I said, is it? He looked at me. I said, he called us the night he found out. We called Patrick. We gave Patrick our guest room. We told him Caitlin wasn't right for Derek. We took them to dinner at the rehearsal dinner restaurant. You shook his hand. I set up her kitchen. And then we wrote a letter asking why family doesn't matter enough to try. My husband was quiet. I said, we never once asked Derek what he needed. Not once. In 12 months we never called to say what can we do for you. We called to manage him. To slow him down. To make him more comfortable with what Patrick did. We treated his pain like an inconvenience to Patrick's recovery. My husband didn't argue. That was the first honest conversation we had. It was too late. We did not contact Derek again. Not because the lawyer told us not to. Because I finally understood that contact was not what he needed from us. What he'd needed was for us to be his parents before he'd needed to become unreachable. We'd missed that window. We'd driven past it at full speed while shaking Patrick's hand. Winter came. I thought about Rosie at Christmas. What she looked like now. Whether she still carried the stuffed elephant she'd had at Easter. Whether she remembered us. Patrick and Caitlin had a rough winter. Arguments. Tension. Patrick came over twice wanting to talk. We listened. We gave advice. We were still performing the role of Patrick's support system because it was the only parental role we had left. In February, my husband's sister, Derek's Aunt Lorraine, called me. She said, I had lunch with Derek last week. I said, how is he? She said, he's doing well. He looks healthy. Rosie is in 1st grade. She has a best friend named Zoe. She's reading above grade level. He's seeing someone named Natalie. I said, he's seeing someone. Lorraine said, for about 8 months. She's very good with Rosie. I sat with that. 8 months. He'd been with someone for 8 months and we hadn't known. There was a woman named Natalie who knew our granddaughter's best friend's name. Who tucked her in. Who was building a life with our son and our granddaughter while we unpacked spice racks and dried Patrick's tears. Lorraine said, I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you because I think you need to understand how much life is happening without you in it. I said, does he ever mention us? She was quiet for a moment. She said, he doesn't say anything bad. He just doesn't say anything. That was worse than anything she could have said. Spring. 14 months after the legal notice. Patrick and Caitlin broke up. Patrick came over the night it happened. Red-eyed. Unshaven. Sat at this table and told us she'd ended it. Said she told him she'd never actually been in love with him. Said she realized she'd used the affair to get out of her marriage. Said she was sorry. Patrick looked destroyed. My husband got up and put a hand on his shoulder. I watched from across the table and felt something I hadn't expected. Nothing. Not satisfaction. Not anger. Not grief. Just the flat recognition that this was what we had traded Derek for. This. A son crying over a woman who used him the same way he used his brother's marriage. The symmetry was exact. I just sat with it and let it be exact. Patrick stayed for 2 weeks. We let him. Old habits. On the last night before he found his apartment, He said, I still don't understand why Derek can't just move on. It's been almost 2 years. I looked at him. He said, I mean, he's doing well, Rosie's fine. There's no reason to keep punishing us. I said, Patrick, who do you think is being punished? He looked confused. I said, Derek is having Sunday dinners with Natalie and watching Rosie learn to read. We are the ones sitting at an empty table. We are the ones who haven't seen our granddaughter in 2 years. We are not his punishment. We are our own. Patrick didn't say anything. I said, you need to find your own apartment. I love you. But you need to go. He moved out 4 days later. First right thing I'd done in 2 years. Far too late to matter. My husband wrote Derek a letter in the fall. Not through the lawyer. Handwritten. 1 page. He said, we made choices that told you exactly what you were worth to us compared to your brother. We were wrong. We are not asking for anything. We just needed you to know that we know. He nailed it. 6 weeks of silence. Then a single photograph arrived. No note. No return address, but we knew. Rosie. Standing at what looked like a school event. Next to a woman with dark hair holding Rosie's hand. Rosie was holding a drawing she'd made. Smiling the exact smile Derek had when he was small. That was all. My husband put it on the refrigerator. We look at it every morning. Here is what I know now. We did not lose Derek when he stopped answering our calls. We lost Derek the night he called us from his bedroom floor and we dialed Patrick's number first. Everything after that was just the bill arriving in installments. Rosie turns 7 next month. Lorraine told us. Lorraine sees them sometimes and sends small updates because she's kind and because she understands that updates are the only access we're going to get. Rosie is doing well. Derek is happy. Patrick is in therapy. Working through things we should have made him face 2 years ago instead of absorbing his excuses and calling it parental love. We have each other. We have this table. We have a photograph on the refrigerator of a granddaughter who doesn't know us. Here is what I want every parent reading this to understand. Your children are watching everything. Every phone call you make first. Every hand you shake. Every dinner you attend. Every box you carry. Every time you say these things are complicated when what you mean is I would rather not choose. They are watching and they are filing it. Not out of malice. Out of survival. They are learning what they are worth to you. Storing it. For the day they have to decide how much of their lives to let you into. Derek gave us access for 30 years. We used that access to show him, choice by choice, that Patrick's comfort was worth more than his pain. He believed us. He stopped giving us access. We have a photograph on the refrigerator. That photograph is the receipt for everything we chose. We earned it. And somewhere in a house we've never been to, our granddaughter is learning to read, and she is loved, and she is safe, and she is building a childhood that does not include us. We put her there. Not Derek. Us. That's the thing nobody tells you about choosing the wrong son. The door doesn't slam. It doesn't even close hard. It just quietly, permanently clicks shut. And you stand on the other side holding 30 years of love that was never enough to outweigh the choices you made with it, finally understanding that the son you taught to stop looking for you learned the lesson exactly as well as you taught it. He stopped looking. We're still standing here. 3 months after the photograph arrived, Lorraine called again. She said, Derek knows I give you updates. He asked me to tell you something. I said, okay. She said, he said to tell you that Rosie is fine. That she's happy. That she doesn't ask about you because she was too young to remember you. He said that's not cruelty. He said that's just what happens when children are removed from relationships before memories solidify. He said he thought you should know that. I said, does he want anything from us? Lorraine was quiet. She said, he said he wants you to stop waiting. He's not coming back. He made his peace with it. He thinks you should make yours. My husband was in the other room. I didn't tell him what Lorraine said until that night. We sat at this table and I repeated it word for word. My husband said, stop waiting. Like we're just supposed to accept this. I said, we don't have a choice. We made choices that removed the choice. He didn't respond. We sat there for a long time. That's what this table is now. A place where we sit and don't respond to things we cannot argue with. Patrick called in December. Said he was doing better. Therapy was helping. He said he'd been thinking about Derek a lot. Said he wanted to reach out but didn't know if he should. I said, that's between you and your brother. He said, do you think he talked to me? I said, I don't know your brother anymore, Patrick. I lost access to knowing him when I helped you instead of him. Patrick was quiet. I said, I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's true. You need to figure out what kind of man you want to be without asking me to hold the map. I can't hold it. I gave up the right to hold it when I set up her spice rack. He said, I know, Mom. I know. He does know. I believe him. Whether knowing changes anything is something only time answers, and time has been answering our family's questions for 3 years in the same direction. January now. Almost 3 full years since October. I go to the refrigerator every morning. Look at the photograph. Rosie's smile. Dark hair. Her father's eyes. A woman named Natalie holding her hand. My husband asked me last week if I regret it. I said, which part? He said, all of it. I said, every day. But regret doesn't open closed doors. It just teaches you what the door cost. He said, what did the door cost us? I said, our son. Our granddaughter. Every Sunday dinner that will never happen. Every birthday. Every school play. Every ordinary Tuesday that parents and grandparents are supposed to show up for. We paid with every single one of those. He nodded. We made breakfast. That's what our mornings are now. Quiet. Correct. Too late to be useful to anyone but each other. I started writing this because a woman in my book club showed me a post someone had shared online. A man writing about his parents choosing his brother over his marriage. The comments were full of people saying they understood. Saying it had happened to them. Saying they'd made the same choice as the parents and paid for it. Saying they'd been Derek and spent years wondering why their parents couldn't just see it. I read every comment. I wrote this because I wanted to be one of the honest ones. One of the parents who says out loud, we chose wrong. We knew somewhere in our bones that we were choosing wrong and we chose anyway because Patrick was louder and Derek was quiet and we had always mistaken loudness for need. Derek never needed us to know he needed us. He just needed us to know him well enough to show up without being asked. We didn't know him that well. Patrick needed us to know every time he needed us. He performed need loudly and consistently and we responded to the performance and called it parenting. It was not parenting. It was conditioning. We trained ourselves to respond to volume and ignore silence and then we were shocked when the quiet son went fully silent and the loud one had nothing left to be loud about. Here is what I should have said the night Derek called. I should have said, son, tell me everything. Stay on the phone. I'm coming over. I should have driven to his house that night and sat with him on his kitchen floor and let him be destroyed in front of me and held that without trying to manage it toward an outcome that was comfortable for Patrick. I should have called Patrick the next morning and said, this conversation is about what you did, not why you did it. And if you want any relationship with this family going forward, you are going to spend the next year rebuilding trust with your brother, not explaining yourself to us. I should have said that. I said, these things are complicated. Those 4 words cost us everything. The table still seats 6. We have not moved the extra chairs. I don't know why. Maybe because moving them makes it official in a way that keeping them avoids. Maybe because on some level we are still waiting for a knock on the door that is not coming. Derek is not coming. Rosie is not coming. The only person who comes is Patrick, occasionally, and Lorraine, and the woman from my book club who sometimes brings wine and sits with me at this table and doesn't ask me to explain what happened because she already knows. She has her own version of this story. Different names. Same table. That's the thing I've learned about choices like the ones we made. You think you're making a unique decision in a specific moment. You're not. You're making the same decision thousands of parents make every year. And the outcome is the same every time. The quiet son goes quiet. The door clicks shut. The table gets smaller. And you sit at it for years learning how to live inside the consequences. We are learning. It is slow. It does not feel like enough. It is what we have. One last thing. Lorraine sent me a photo last week. Taken at a family event she'd attended, one of Derek's cousin's birthday parties. The kind of extended family gathering we used to all attend together. Derek is in the background. Out of focus. He's laughing at something. Really laughing. Head back. The kind of laugh where you're not thinking about how you look. Rosie is next to him. She has a juice box. She is looking up at him while he laughs. Not at whatever made him laugh. At him. The way small children look at the people who make them feel safe. That's the look. That's the one. The one she used to give us. I kept the photo. I did not put it on the refrigerator. Some things you hold privately because putting them on display would mean letting yourself look at them every day, and some truths are better absorbed slowly. The truth in that photo is that Derek is okay. More than okay. He built something without us that has the foundations we never gave him when he was with us. He does not need us to be happy. He never did. That was always the truth. We just chose to believe he did so we wouldn't have to reckon with what it meant that we needed Patrick to need us more than we needed Derek to trust us. Derek trusted us. We failed it. He stopped looking. And from across a room in a photograph taken by someone who still loves us both, he is laughing, and his daughter is watching him with safe eyes, and the door between our world and his is closed. We closed it. We stand at it sometimes and we do not knock. He taught us that much.